I prepared a few slides just to give you some fun things to look at while I'm talking, but I wanted to just tell you a little bit about our department and housing and kind of what we do. Our department is called University Housing and Residence Life, and we enable student success by creating and supporting welcoming, safe, and inclusive residential communities. So the things that I'm going to talk about next kind of illustrate how we do that. You know, as you know, we process, you may not know, we process over 4,200 applications for for students that are seeking housing throughout the year. And we were able to accommodate about 3,500 freshmen living on campus this fall. So that's about 83% of those who applied were able to get housing with us. We had our move-in in August, and depending on what types of programs students might have been involved in, they were moving in throughout the month of August. But we just finished having our Auburn Global students move in recently, so all of our halls are full, and we're actually at 98% capacity right now. So we've got 4,652 students living on campus with us right now. As you can imagine, we had all kinds of things move into the residence halls with all those students. They brought just about everything they could think of. And one of the things I want to mention to you is, as all that stuff came into the halls, I couldn't help but think they're going to accumulate more stuff throughout the year. But something to keep in mind is that as they are preparing to move out, you want to think about, we do at the end of the year, we do a checkout for charity, where we collect donations from all the students of all these things that they don't want to take home with them. Another thing you might want to start thinking now about is the opportunity to store things in storage units in the area over the summer if you don't want to have all this stuff come back to you in the fall, or over the summer, that is. And you know, we did get a lot of positive feedback from parents about all of our helpers that helped with move-in. I have to do a shout out to our PICIs with sorority recruitment and Hellenic. They were able to help with move-in. We were a huge help, along with a bunch of other volunteers that we had. The green bins that we have were very popular. It was something we got a lot of positive feedback on, and we're going to continue for next year. We have had lots of fun things happening already on campus. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that as I talk. But as you may know, we have 5 home football games in a row. We've just had our first one. And by the time we get to that 5th one, there'll be an away game, and then we get into fall break. So I imagine either your students are going to be trying to catch up, or really anxious to come home and visit with you over the fall break. One of the things I wanted to tell you about that we have going on is we have faculty in residence who are 3 faculty members are pictured here. Dr. Ken Thomas on the left, in the middle is Dr. Paul Harris, and on the right is Dr. Amaya Kolakar. And each of them live in our village residence halls and do a lot of programs throughout the year. I just wanted to tell you a couple things that they're doing for students in the village, but also for students living elsewhere on campus. Dr. Thomas is coordinating a number of events with the Honors College with students who live in Brown and Eagle. And he's also hosting some events in Eagle. Last year, he did some really successful one-on-ones with students who were kind of struggling on campus after the fall semester, and had a lot of positive response from that. Dr. Harris is a political science professor, and one of his big things this fall, as you can imagine, is he's going to be hosting for each of the presidential debates and the vice president debates. He'll be hosting a watch party for each of those, and he's also trying to coordinate a major watch party for the election results, trying to get students engaged in the political process and talking about the elections in a positive and way that promotes critical thinking. And Dr. Kolakar is a physics professor. Now, he is really, his mission on campus is to have people not fear physics. So one of the things that he's doing is he's having office hours in the village dining on Tuesdays from 7 to 9. And students don't have to eat there, but they can. And he's arranged to have a special table, an area where he can work with students one-on-one and get them to know each other and work together collaboratively. So faculty and residents, wonderful part of our program here at Auburn, and I hope that you'll encourage your students to get to know them. Another thing that we have available to students, it happens to also be in the village, but in Aubie Hall, we have a staff member from the Student Counseling Services that's available from 3 to 5 on Thursdays at Aubie to just talk with students about whatever it is they want to talk about. If they're feeling homesick, anxious, they don't want to go all the way to the counseling center, which for village residents is kind of a far walk, but easy by Tiger Transit. So she's available and interested to talk with students. Another event that will be happening, we've had one during Welcome Week this year, but we have another one coming up on October 5th, is Dinner with Strangers. And that's a program sponsored by our Sustained Dialogue program. And they are encouraging anybody to sign up. It's a free dinner. And basically you sit and talk with people you've never met before, most likely, about all kinds of topics. So right now they've been talking about the elections season and that sort of thing, but they do these dinners about once a month. And the students will see advertisements about it. But if your students saying they need to meet more people, this is a great way to do that. And it's a free event with free dinner. I wanted to mention the good work of our resident assistants. We have a number of them that are involved on campus and of course in our residence halls. During the month of August, they sponsored over 100 programs for their residents that were attended by over 3,000 students. So they have been really busy and trying to get students to know each other, get to have students get to know them. They are on duty every night, so they're on a rotating system and are able to be available for students throughout throughout each day. And they are also available for lockouts. Now, we had a grace period for lockouts where there was no fee through last Monday's, or I should say through Tuesday, September 6th. So starting now, or actually the other day, we are charging for lockouts. It's $25 most of the day, and in late hours, it's $50 to have the students be let into their rooms. But the resident assistants, as I mentioned, do a lot more than just letting students into their rooms and planning programs. They're also available to talk with students to help them feel oriented so that they kind of know what's going on in the residence halls, and to help them with things like conflict resolution. If they have concerns about maintenance requests or any of that, they can help them know how to submit those through our property management office. And also just talking about any concerns students may have with the living on campus experience. And I have to put in a plug for students that are possibly interested in becoming resident assistants. If you have a student that was really loved working with their peers and had good leadership skills and is very friendly and outgoing, we will be doing interest sessions in November for students that are interested in becoming a resident assistant. It's a fairly involved process. They do need to submit an application by mid-January. They have one-on-one interviews with some of our staff and group interviews, and we do our announcement of resident assistants in March. Then we have a training for them starting in the spring, and then they come back early in the fall before all the other students move back in to get additional training. It's a really wonderful group of people, and it's another great way to make friends and also to get to know next year's freshman class. I also want to give a shout out to our graduate assistants. They are all in master's or PhD programs here at Auburn and are also living in our residence halls and working directly with the RA staff and the students that live in each of their areas. And they are kind of the backbone of our program. They're really, they're also on duty. They're in a rotation once each week. One of them's on duty and available to students for emergency situations or whatnot. I do want to mention, speaking of emergency situations, that you may have seen a notice that went out from our public safety office last Friday, and it just is a reminder that as the semester gets into full swing, that students need to kind of take into consideration their own personal safety on and around campus. And they mentioned that there have been several recent reports involving harassment or other unwanted behavior by a stranger or recent acquaintance. Basically, our students are very friendly and they get to know all kinds of people, but sometimes they don't have the ability to kind of put the limits on when somebody's going to come visit or hang out, like sitting outside the residence hall or that kind of thing. So they just gave a number of safety tips that everybody should be considering. And I would encourage you, if your student ever talks about feeling unsafe or that they notice somebody hanging around the building or any of those sorts of things, to encourage them to call 911, call our campus security, call an RA immediately, and let them know so that we can try to follow up with that individual and find out what they're doing on campus. Oftentimes, our public safety has let us know that the students are waiting, anywhere from a few hours to a day or two to call and report something that was maybe suspicious behavior at the time, but for whatever reason they didn't report it till much later. So we want to definitely encourage them to think about their own personal safety. Another completely different change of topic here, but another thing I wanted to mention that we have coming up is our room decorating contest. This year is our third year that we've been doing this, and we've had over 60 entries, and we'll be announcing the winners on September 15th. So if you happen to know that your student entered, we will be putting photos of the winning rooms on our website, and you'll get to kind of maybe see some fresh decorating ideas. Another thing that I wanted to mention that comes up quite a bit is roommating. And by now your students should have completed a roommate agreement with their roommates or suite mates. Just kind of, it gives them an excuse to kind of walk through maybe some uncomfortable questions that they might not have asked each other otherwise, but to start thinking about how they would interact throughout the year in terms of sharing personal items and when to go to sleep and who's going to clean and all those sorts of things that tend to become points of conflict later if they don't start working them out now. One thing I will say is this week is the week that if they want to do any room changes, they need to be going through that process now. Tomorrow is the last day that they can switch rooms this week and throughout the rest of the semester. And we only do this once a semester. So it's really important if they have any burning issues, if they haven't already submitted an application to apply for a room change, they need to do that ASAP because tomorrow is when students will be getting their new room assignments and finding out where they're going to be moving to. Another thing, so this is our website, which talks a little bit about the room change week. Another thing I want to mention for you parents is that we do have important dates that all of you are probably been anxious to see, and they are on our website now. This is a screenshot of the important dates that are on our website. Starting on, as I mentioned, we have fall break coming up at October 14th. That is, our halls do remain open then, but we do close for Thanksgiving. And we list the time, the day as Saturday, November 19th, with the exact time TBD. That evening, or sometime that day, we don't know when, there will be a football game between Auburn and Alabama A&M. And because the time has not been announced yet, we will be holding off on giving an exact time when the halls close. But assuming that that's a morning game, then the halls will probably close, let's say around 6 p.m. But if you're making plans and your son or daughter doesn't want to stay for that football game, you're welcome to come get them whenever you'd like. But once the halls close, they are expected to go home or go someplace else. So you want to pay attention to the dates on here. We also give the dates for when we reopen the halls and when we have the winter break and also spring break. So you want to pay attention to all of those dates. I know parents are more interested in those sometimes than our students. I also want to just put a shout out to those of you who are into social media. We do have Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram accounts, and I would encourage you to take advantage of signing up for those. You'll kind of get some. We try to push out a lot of information through those sites and knowing about things that are going on in the residence halls, announcements about deadlines and things that would be really helpful to know. The last thing I really want to talk about, and then we'll open it up for questions here, is returning to the residence halls for next year. One of the things that you may not realize is that we actually don't have very many upper class students that live on campus with us for sophomore, junior, or senior year. We do have about 24% of our students living on campus are upper class students. So that's only about, this year it's 1,139. Now of those students, about 60% of them are upper class students. And that actually live in our sorority housing. So, you know, for anybody who's not in a sorority, a lot of folks are moving off campus after freshman year, or let's say they're not an RA or that sort of thing. So I would encourage you to, you know, just kind of keep in mind that we do, while students will be able to reapply for housing in mid-February, it's a very easy process for returning students. It's just a few questions on the application. But most students will be seeking off-campus housing. And I know that's going to be a next part of our presentation here. But I do want to mention that that they do have the ability to live with us again if they would like. But again, most students do choose to live off campus. So I'm going to see if I can switch back to see me here real quick. Sorry, I'm having a little difficulty. Okay, silence is not great when you're trying to do TV stuff. I am not sure how to, share screen. Don't know if I did anything with that, but can you still see my screen?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should be at this.
Not sure how to go back to that. There we go. Stop share. Okay. So hopefully we can get the audio fixed. I'm not sure what to do about that, but thank you very much. I appreciate your patience.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jabari Robinson. I work in the First Year Experience Office as a graduate assistant. I primarily work with the orientation program. So some of you may have seen me during Camp War Eagle. So if you have any questions, feel free to submit those in the chat function that's at the bottom of your screen. We're going to start off with answering a few questions. So we have some camp counselors and parent counselors as well here to answer some questions for you. So for the counselors, start off by talking a little bit about your experience, if you enjoyed living on campus or off campus, if you lived off.
My name is Carter William Pollock. I am a senior, and I'm still living on campus. This is my fourth year living on campus. I lived in the quad as a freshman, and then I've been an RA in the quad for 2 years, an RA in South Donahue, and I'm now an RA in the village. So my experience living on campus has been really positive. I really enjoyed it. That's where I found a lot of my friends, and I get compensated to live on campus. So that's nice.
My name is Bree Carter. I am a senior or junior here, junior here at Auburn University, and I have lived in the Hill my freshman year and all the way up till now, and I'm in RA in the Hill now. My experience living on campus has been super awesome. Exactly like Carter William, I've met most of my friends on campus. Still really, really great friends with my suite mate my freshman year and all of everyone else that I've lived with on campus. There are tons of other super awesome benefits to living on campus. Like we said, you meet really cool friends. It's on campus, so you like get to be really close to everyone else or in on campus, main campus. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yep, my name is Bryson Owen, and I'm a senior as well. And I lived on campus my first year, and every year after that, I've lived off campus. And like Bree said, living on campus is a really great way to meet friends, and it's also super convenient. I mean, I was able to wake up 15 minutes before my classes and still make it to all of them on time. Off campus, although it's not as convenient, it's still really nice to have a place that you can go away from, to be with yourself and just kind of get away from all the hustle and bustle of on campus. And it's also really nice to be able to make your own meals and just have some more you time and be able to like study in your room a little bit easier and not have to worry about a roommate. But honestly, on campus was a really great experience too because you are able to make a lot of friends.
My name is Audrey, and I'm a junior here at Auburn. In my freshman year, I lived on campus in the quad, and then the past 2 years, I've lived off campus, actually in a house. And living on campus is a really great way just to get fully submersed into everything that Auburn has to offer. However, as you kind of get the hang of things on campus a little bit more, it's nice to be able to transition off campus and just have a little bit more space, have that separation between school and kind of like social life things at home, just kind of get to relax away from the hecticness of campus. But yeah.
Okay. So the next question is mostly for off-campus housing. So when would you suggest to start looking for off-campus housing?
I would probably suggest to do it as soon as possible. I mean, most people would get it done by October, November. I mean, normally it's before Christmas break is when people will go ahead and sign leases, or at least have it down to 2 or 3 places that they know they want to look at and probably sign with. That's normally when they have the most deals going on. Some of them will waive the signing fee or something like that, and that's also the easiest way to be able to make sure that you get a room with people that you want and make sure that there's plenty of availability there.
Okay. What are some of the resources that parents and students can use to find some of the off-campus housing locations?
There's a lot of different resources for students and parents to use. Northcutt Realty is a really big realty company here in Auburn, and they manage a lot of different properties. Even through social media, you'll see a lot of different apartment complexes posting things here and there. There are apartment guides that you can pick up in the Quad Center, actually, with all of the different off-campus housing locations. And the more time you spend in Auburn, you kind of get a feel for the different apartment complexes. And if you just call them, they'll let you come and tour their different models and kind of give you information about what to expect from each place so that you can kind of get a better feel of which one's the best fit for you.
Okay. So some students may not have a car while living off campus. What are some of the ways that they can get around campus or around town if they're not living on campus?
Okay, transportation-wise, the best thing that we have here at Auburn is going to be the Tiger Transit. Those have stops at every major apartment complex, and they run probably 5 or 6 buses for each lane, and it goes from 7 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, and that's a fantastic way to get to class, get to anywhere on campus, and get back off campus to wherever your apartment complex is. They also have the bike share program now, which is a great way to get around campus if you get dropped off, say, the transit stop is at Haley for most places, and if your class isn't close to the Haley Center, you can use a bike share to get anywhere else you need to on campus.
We also have external night transits that run, after hours. So if you are on campus and you have a class that ends at like 6 o'clock, you can figure out which transit is running back to your apartment complex. And there's actually an app called Translock Rider that's really easy to navigate. You can like heart your favorite routes, and it'll tell you, oh, there's a Tiger Transit that's getting to your location in approximately 5 minutes. And you can see the different routes that they're all taking so that you kind of know how to plan accordingly when a Tiger Transit's coming.
Okay. So we also had another question about say if upperclassmen apply for their on-campus housing by February, meeting all the deadlines. Can they count on securing on-campus housing on residence halls such as Albee, Harper, or South Donahue?
Yeah, so if you're a reapplying resident, it's pretty easy. Most of those halls are specifically designed to house upper class residents, especially Harper and Aubie specifically, you'll go in, you'll see the available rooms, and you'll secure them. So you are logging into a system to see that. It's a little bit trickier with Donahue sometimes, just because a lot of people try and live in Donahue, both freshmen and not, and the athletes' rooms kind of get shuffled around. But especially Aubie, if you want to live there and you are there and you sign up by the deadline, as long as you beat the other people trying to sign up, you'll be good. But most of the time, it's not an issue. So as far as returning to live on campus, you have a lot more flexibility than the first time. It's a lot more sure of a bet.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more questions? If you have any more questions, please feel free to submit those in through either the Q&A function or the chat function. And for the counselors, is there any last minute advice that you'll give to the parents or to tell their students about living on campus or off campus?
Both ways are really, really awesome. There are advantages to both living on campus and off campus. Like they said, living on living on off campus is really cool because you do have a different view of going to school and then also living off campus and the different aspect of college. And living on campus is pretty awesome because you do make new friends and you are closer in proximity to campus, as well as if you've never had a roommate before, if you've never lived with anyone before, living on campus and getting a roommate or suite mates is really awesome. You get to meet new people, you get to learn how to live with people, and you get a better or a cooler community living in a residence hall, living with from 80 to 200, 300 people. So both ways, both living on campus and off campus gives a lot of, has a lot of advantages.
Okay. All right, so we have another question. So if you live off campus, do you have the option to choose your own roommate, or does the apartment match your roommate for you?
There's several different approaches you can take. A lot of people will like to live with a certain person, or they'll say like, hey, like let's get a group together and all live together. And you can approach an apartment complex from that standpoint and say, we're looking for a 4-bedroom, we have the 4 roommates, and we're good to go. However, if you would like, a lot of apartment complexes do have resources to help match you up with a roommate, or sometimes they'll have like a group, like a 4-bedroom unit where someone moved out, so they're looking for another person, and they can kind of put you in touch with other people to live with if you're unsure of who you want to live with.
Thank you. Okay, we have another question. Tell the truth. How often do each of you clean your apartment or room?
Do we clean it?
Clean it?
Yes, clean it.
I mean, personally, I clean mine a lot, but then again, like once it gets into the year and you're like getting hit with school and all this other stuff, like it slowly declines. So like, if I get that pile of clothes, or
I
like
would say my freshman year when I lived in the quad with someone and we were sharing the same bedroom space, like I kept it really clean because that was like kind of my way to be accountable. But then I lived in a single room in the quad. I did not keep that clean. And now that I'm in the village, I share like a kitchen area and I make sure to always keep that clean. But my bedroom, open Pandora's box.
Yeah, see, I was the opposite. When I was living on campus, it was pretty much a mess just because I knew my roommate was kind of a clean freak, so he'd eventually just clean it for me. But now that I have a room to myself, I'm probably like a once or 2 weeks kind of guy. I keep it decent. Once it gets overwhelming and I can't step anywhere, that's when I tell myself I gotta clean up something.
Yeah, our living area is pretty clean, but my room is upstairs, so no one really goes upstairs. No one needs to use my bathroom like if guests are over, so it should probably clean a little bit more. But it's a growing process.
Overall, not off.
We are in college, you know.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. If there are any more questions, please feel free to send those in. Our next session will be in 2 weeks. Don't have that actually pulled up right now, but thank you so much for attending Navigate and everything. We hope that you all attend back. This is a lot of information that can help you and your students be even more successful throughout their freshman year and in their next 4 years.